So I'd like to first introduce the panelists, and then we'll have some discussion. I'll be asking each of them a question, and then I hope to have some discussion amongst all of you, and then we'll open it to questions. Okay. So I'll just go down the line. So our first panelist is Mitch Alexander, and he is a 28-year-old socialist, utilitarian, determinist, and he's analytical and a reductionist metalhead who hates labels. He's hosted Australia's national heavy metal radio show, The Racket, and has toured Australia and Asia with his death metal band, Eye of the Enemy. Most recently appeared as a comedian at seminars and roundtables all across rural Pennsylvania. Our next panelist is Neslihan Arol. Let's get this up. She is from Istanbul. She finished her master's degree in film and drama and is writing her thesis on the relationship of feminism and clowning, for which she has created a clown performance titled Perfect Woman. She is a PhD student in the Performing Arts Department of the University of Arts Berlin with the PhD title Feminist Approaches to Comedy Through Solo Performance Forms. In the scope of her PhD, she works on 3 different comedic solo performance forms: stand-up comedy, clowning, and meda, which is a traditional storytelling form from Turkey. And she's working on these theoretically, practically, and comparatively. As a performer and a clown, she has performed in many different countries, including Austria, Canada, Germany, Finland, and Turkey. Never in stand-up, but she made her debut. Yes. So I'm sure she'll have lots to say. Our next panelist is Cait Hogan. She is a Brooklyn-based comic. She hails from Brooklyn, but she is based in Ohio. She recently performed at the Escape from RNC show with The Daily Show's Roy Woods Jr. and Ronnie Chang. And she has been blocked by Donald J. Trump, Ivanka Trump, John Kasich, and Rob Portman, as well as a student body president in her time at the university. Next we have LeMaire Lee. LeMaire Lee.
It's LeMaire.
Oh, it is LeMaire. I was told it was LeMaire. Oh, wow. Okay. That's good. I don't read my intel reports, so.
It's okay.
Yeah, LeMaire Lee.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful name, by the way.
It sounds like an adjective.
I think it sounds like the C. It's like French for the mayor.
It means the mayor.
The mayor. The LeMaire Lee.
Everything.
Hi guys. Parents had high hopes.
LeMaire Lee here.
LeMaire Lee is a comic who has performed all over the country. He would like to see, he also runs a podcast called Weak Jokes, Strong Men. He would like to see the rest of his introduction to a fundraising effort for a recently passed away friend, Georgette. That can be found at GoFundMe.com, and if you search Georgette's medical expenses.
Yeah.
Next is Bill Russum, who performed earlier this week. Many of you have seen him. He is a stand-up comedian and musician who lives in Winfield, but lies and says he's from Lewisburg a lot. His words, not mine. And his debut album, the Song album, is available online, wherever you can buy or steal music from. He can be found at realbillrussum.com. Next, we have Charlie Duncan Saffrey. Is that, am I pronouncing it?
That is perfect.
Okay. And then he is a philosopher and stand-up who is currently a visiting lecturer in comedy writing at the University of Westminster, London. From 2005 to 2013, he performed in about 450 comedy shows and wrote and directed several Edinburgh Fringe Festival sketch shows. In 2013, he founded Stand Up Philosophy, a stand-up show where the performer's primary role is to still entertain, but to entertain by making philosophical arguments rather than jokes. And then rounding out the end, we have Chris William, who is a teacher by day and a stand-up comedian whenever he can get stage time. He is from Sunbury, Pennselsvania, and is open for Dave Ross, Brandy Posey, Finn Straley, and Rob Babcock. Actually, some LA comics that I know. And Ron recently released his first album. He is open for the Insane Clown Posse, but assures you he is not a juggler. which is a great credential. Go on any resume. And so I'd like to give a round of applause to all of our asking just some questions down the line. So with that idea of the divide between sort of things that are entertainment techniques versus things like more commentary, do you find that this distinction is relevant to you as a comic, as a touring comic?
To me, I think it's personally relevant, but I am at the moment stuck on the idea that a stand-up comic has no other obligation to a crowd other than to make them laugh. And I have a problem with that as almost a definitional problem, because I think if you've got a microphone and a platform and people listening, you should try to make a point. And even if I disagree with that point, I think it's almost, I feel like I want to say you're obliged to use that time to make a political point or a personal point, but I don't think you have to. I think stand-up, the only real rule of it is to get people to laugh. Because I'm clowning and things like that, like, you're not doing the opinion-based laughter, and yet you're still definitely being a comedian. So I think there's necessary and sufficient conditions to being a comedian. And I think it really only falls to laughter.
By the way, I don't think you need words to make an opinion. So
Definitely.
with a clown, you can do many things.
Yeah.
And since you're out of symbolic order, maybe you can even be more subversive sometimes. So I wanted to just note that. And other than that, I started actually stand-up comedy with my PhD. And my PhD is about searching the relationship between feminism and comedy. So I definitely have this aim to try this, to share feminist perspectives. So if that makes me a commentator, I don't know, but this was my motivation. And I think intention is one of the important points that we should maybe discussing here, because there are comedians who especially say that they are commentators, but not maybe directly with this word, but for example, Cait created a word as humorist, which is a feminist humorist, like combination of these two words. So this means she takes this role directly herself. So it's not that you have to then categorize her, because she categorizes herself in a sense. I can speak more, but maybe I should leave the others.
And do you, Cait, as a performer, do you find that there's a conflict or any kind of tension on this in your craft?
I think I've made my craft off attention. When you boil it down, I like to consider myself an agitator. Because I don't instigate a fight, but I'm definitely not going to finish one. You know what I mean? Like that's I actually keep the separation that I can walk away at any time. So like on Twitter, when I get blocked by people, I turned off my filter because sometimes they're very funny. Like inundate that like these people that normally throughout history have not had a platform now have a platform to voice their opinion. There's nothing special about this time that gives uneducated, ignorant, hateful people any more clout than the fact that they can now have a wider audience, even if it is the 35 followers or the occasional person they tweet back to. And so it's very much so when I think about commentating, or if I'm just an entertainer, I think all forms of art are a commentary on reality. It's kind of like literary fallacy. We spoke a little bit about it earlier, where is that art mean anything to the person who created it with that intention? And what I do is I have a reality. I have a set reality, and I create art because of it, and now you're going to put it into the scope of your reality. Am I commenting on your reality or my reality? And that's kind of where I think that spectrum comes into. Like I do a joke that I'm not a feminist because I hate men. I'm a misandrist because I hate men. Words matter. And to me, in my reality, that is as a sexual assault survivor and victim and identity of that, where I do, at the end of it, I'm just some asshole who does rape jokes in basements, in clubs, does it give me any more authority to comment on it because I've been the personal victim of? And so when you talk about this fluidity of society, when I say that, I think it's absurd because I get up there and I do these jokes and they call me a feminist and they say, oh, well, you have to hate men. right? Like that's what. Why would I ever like men? I grew up with an abusive father, and then was assaulted by a friend. Why would I ever want to like men again? But I have a boyfriend, I have a brother, I have men in my life. Some of my heroes are men. I grew up watching Comedy's Greats because I had a lot of unsupervised access to cable television. You know, like it's my reality is never going to be the person sitting next to me with reality. And so as a commentator, as a performer, as an entertainer, I think at the boiling down of it, what switches you from just a commentator is that punchline. It is that finesse. It is that delivery. Because there are a lot of famous orators and famous, what's the difference between journalism and comedy? It's not just that barrier of embellished truth.
Okay. It's not just that barrier of embellished truth?
Correct.
It's the punchline, you're saying?
Correct.
Oh, that's very interesting. And then also what you said about being blocked. I want to get back to that, but no, because that's also like an interesting thing with like trolling or doing stuff online. Is it's both if you're heckling, some prominent figure, you're engaging in social criticism, and then you're also providing a show for everyone else on Twitter. So I want to get back to that again as well. So LeMaire, do you find yourself sort of drawn one way or the other? I know that's sort of.
What do you mean?
Like in other words, do you think about like social criticism when you're writing, or do you think I'm just looking for the laws?
I think jokes about hitting women are funny. So like, I don't know. I don't care about the commentary. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's not a thing that really matters. As long as the joke is funny, then
that's
as long as it's funny. Like because there's people who think that a joke is based in reality. There are in some jokes there are small realities, but other jokes are just absurd. Like there's no. I don't know, man.
But is it absurdity? I mean, how is absurdity that something's absurd because it diverges from reality, right?
Yeah.
So
say that again.
Something is absurd because it diverges from reality.
Yeah.
So in that way, reality is a part of even an absurd joke.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't take. If someone says a joke, I'm not going to be like, oh, this person does that thing. So that's one of the things I've been noticing about people who pay attention to comedy now is that they think that what that person's saying is absolutely true. That is absolutely like a commentary from their life.
That there's no element of satire.
That there's,
or like absurdity, or they're not saying something crazy to make you think that that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that, people are normalizing behaviors who are going, oh, well, if that guy said it, then, I mean, obviously you should be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Bill said.
I want to put a pin in that note. I mean, come back to it later maybe, but like that idea of, like people take things way too seriously with comics sometimes, like the Jesselnick and Tosh sort of cases. I think there's also, on the inverse of that, there are a lot of openly allied or feminist male comedians, as an example, who are just atrocious off stage. And I know of a few women who have talked to me about, like we have mutual friends in the Australian comedy scene who have done jokes on stage admonishing men that send dick pics to people, hey, you definitely shouldn't do that, you shouldn't. And they have also sent dick pics, unsolicited, like in a sense, violent dick pics to women. And it seemed, again, to be the inversion like you were talking about, that like just because someone says anything on stage is never really indicative of it. And I think comedians are being conflated both ways. Sometimes it's like, he said a negative thing, he must be negative. It's like, no, you just got it for the laugh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think sometimes we give some comedians too much credit for being right on, when the stagecraft doesn't mean shit if you get off stage and you're a horrible person.
Is it a craft? Is it a form of art then? Because I think you
I don't know.
Well,
all right.
It's art.
Just gonna let the different panelists. Oh no! You were actually speaking.
Oh no!
Yeah.
No. Keep talking. I was just saying.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, we're going and moving on. No, I think that's what you're getting at in a form of, the way I look at it is your art separate from your target's humanity, whether it's a pillar of structure, such as like a systematic oppression, or if it is a person. So like Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby made a career out of wholesomeness, and look what he was doing. He's a serial rapist. And he honed and specialized his skill to take advantage of the separation between stage and backstage. So this portable stage, what I've noticed with comedians is they like to, specifically with male comedians, they like to be able to turn on and off their stage. I have some sort of privilege with my portable stage that I can go, oh, no, I know I did an interview, I know I was in a professional setting, but that was me, the character, that's not me now, that I'm getting social consequence of it. No one's saying that your free speech is taken away or that people didn't find your joke funny, but stand-up comedy, as an art or not an art, is still a part of culture in some sort of subversive or direct way, and that you are not free from social commentary, whether you wanted it or not.
Are you saying that it's only men who are?
No, I'm saying it's mostly men.
Mostly men?
Yeah, there's a qualifier there.
I think yeah, good point. I think anybody who's just like,
Wait, guys, what are you guys writing? I want to know.
LeMaire.
Write down. I'm so freaked out right now. What are you writing?
These are academics. They write everything.
You're sketching advice.
Yeah, I've never done
Someone's
this
had some
before.
traumatic guidance.
Don't worry, LeMaire.
Recommendation.
Their legal pads just say you're a piece of shit.
I feel good.
Never
They're actually
looked at that.
characters. They're character artists, so they're making all of our characters.
I think.
I was actually going to ask you next about what your ideas of speech are, like free speech, in this relationship between. Because what I originally was thinking, I just want to say that I was originally thinking about this in terms of like social criticism and entertainment, and whether you choose to keep them separate. But it's interesting now we're talking about the idea that, oh, maybe LeMaire, you're saying, oh, I just do something for entertainment, and someone's saying, no, actually, maybe you can't put yourself in just that category of saying, I'm just doing this for entertainment.
You have to.
There's always always a social criticism component. You can't separate yourself.
I like making people laugh at things they don't want to laugh at. That's the thing. It's so good when you can like do a Trump joke and people are like, but he's right. You know.
I mean,
So you're commenting on social ideals and expectations of the Trump presidency, but you're not a commentator on social issues.
No, but I also do a joke about how fat I am. Like it's not like I don't make a choice, but it's like a.
So you're multifaceted.
It's more. It's like
identities.
whatever like comes up, Like if I don't know.
Isn't that just the legacy of comedy, though?
Yeah.
Like, comedy has kind of always been that sort of making people laugh at what they don't want to laugh at. Whether you go back to George Carlin and the words you can't say on TV, or Richard Pryor joking about sucking a dick for crack. Like, no matter what, in comedy, even like going back to vaudeville, it's always been a commentary on what makes people uncomfortable to an extent. Whether it's you poking fun at yourself, because I do jokes about being a fat person as well, but I've now in my, I feel like shit for saying this, but now that I've become more mature in comedy, not that I'm done or I have my voice or anything like that, but I've been doing it for long enough that I steer away from those jokes, not because I don't think someone can't do them, but because to me it feels easy. Because no one should get mad at me for making fun of me. And I think it is important that even though we are performers and what we do on stage is character to an extent, that we are responsible then for if someone wants to have commentary on that person we were. If someone holds me accountable for what I said on stage, that is part of my social contract as a performer. That I have to get off stage and I'm held accountable for what I said on stage, because whether or not it was a character, it's still, I'm representing something.
But don't you get to lie?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure,
Bob
but-
Marley definitely didn't
What
shoot
about,
any sheriff.
But then all you have, that's where your explanation goes then.
Yeah, but
You're
I mean, people should also be able to you should definitely I don't know how many times, like, do you have any idea, Mitch, how many people Danzig has killed? Hasn't, that I know of. He's a pretty nice dude.
But then we can go as far as to talk about Charles Manson. You know what I mean? Like, are you, and the same thing with Trump, hate crimes have increased steadily and still are since Trump. And he's saying, oh, well, I just said stuff. It's not, I didn't do it.
But he's,
I'm not, you know, and that's where, are you held accountable for what you incite?
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like, as an entertainer, like, if this is an act, right, and like there should be some sort of a separation. But if you like, if you're going on stage and being like, yeah, let's just kill black people and women and you know, and like the mentally challenged, like, yeah, definitely hold yourself accountable and like people should, but like that's not comedy. That's not the act. That's not like valid entertainment.
Wait, do we all agree that funny is first?
What's that?
Do we agree that funny is first?
Oh, I don't know. We didn't finish getting down the line.
Then to you, what is funny first? Actually,
yeah, is it? Well,
yank it down.
To answer the question,
Go on, takers, yeah.
Can I just say?
Hi, I'm Charlie.
And then also, you know, if you're exploring philosophy. No, I'm going to hide mine for a second. Go.
First of all, I'd like to finish that little debate just now. The persona and the character, the persona that the performer is doing on stage is different from the person. If the persona is a dick, then there's got to be social sanctions for the act. People shouldn't go and see that act if the act is a dick, or people should be free to say that act is a dick. But also, the performer is responsible for that act, and they should be held responsible for that act. That's that debate done.
There you have it.
I don't agree with that.
Alright, but that's okay, because you think it's funny to hit women. So, to come back to your question...
That's a really good point.
That's not what you said, and that's what you said, but we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Intention. The question was, is funny first? There is this problem in art theory generally about whether what should be judged as the intention or the product. So we go down all kinds of rabbit holes when you start talking about intention, but now we're down one. We're asking what we're trying to do, whether what we're trying to do is primarily get laughs, or whether you're primarily trying to say something, or whether you're primarily trying to do something good, or whatever. I think definitely there are primary and secondary obligations. If you are doing stand-up comedy, I would agree the primary obligation is to get laughs. That is the first thing to do. If you're not getting laughs, or you're not attempting to get laughs, you're not doing comedy. You're not a stand-up comedian unless you're trying to get laughs. And how you do that is up to you. Having said that, there are still secondary obligations. It's a good thing if, in the course of getting laughs, you can say something good. It's a bad thing if, in the course of getting laughs, you're not. That's bad. But the primary obligation is, and I would agree with this, to get laughs.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Because now we're talking about these categories, but we didn't define these categories. What we understand from social commentator and what we understand from entertainer. Is it, like you said, only what we understand from it is like, okay, I just want to get laughs no matter what? Is the entertainer, like, are we going to set them like as binaries and think of it as a, like a, I don't know, like a line that we can move in between, like entertainer just cares about laugh and commentator wants to give a message no matter what. As soon as, can we talk, like, is there also, we were talking about some techniques, like...
oh yeah, well, I think about like entertainers more as storytellers, or, I mean, obviously there's social criticism that can be in a story as well, but also, I personally think about like the different kinds of techniques, like dropping into a character and if you're using funny voices and things like that versus a social critic being maybe a little more oriented towards wordplay or absurdist imagery or things like that. Not to say that one end of the spectrum has ownership over those things, but you tend to find.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we understand the same thing from these two categories. Like, but I guess we do. I feel nobody is saying anything, so everybody's like...
Yeah, I think entertainers can be more or less social commentators, and I think social commentators can be more or less comedians.
Actually, I would suggest a little amendment to the entertainment or commentary, because commentary is entertainment. Commentary can be entertaining.
Yes.
So if what we're doing is entertaining, then are we primarily trying to do that entertaining through getting laughs and being funny, or are we trying to entertain by making points? Standard Philosophy, which is the show I do, come and see it. First Tuesday of every month in London. Someone posted that. Standard Philosophy, the point of that was because I was a bit tired of having to have as a primary obligation get laughs, get laughs, get laughs. I wanted to have a space where performers could come and have as their primary obligation to entertain, definitely to entertain and always to entertain, but to entertain by making philosophical arguments and to get laughs along the way, ideally.
And so that entertainment still takes the form of humor?
Often, yes. Sometimes it's just being interesting. Everyone here is being entertained, even when we're not making jokes. People are here to hear arguments. People are here to laughs are not the only kind of entertainment.
Are we supposed to be funny?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, are we supposed to be funny?
This is the podcast.
I don't know. Like, just a bunch of people looking, and I don't know.
That's the best description of uni I've ever heard. It's just a bunch of people looking.
Some pads, cross legs.
It's actually a big psychological assessment.
Well, I will say, as far as being a practitioner, like I'm a stand-up comic, I took classical philosophy in 2009. Outside of that, and I don't remember, it was an open book test, so I'm sure I just didn't learn anything. No, but and I have, whatever I have from at least high school understanding, whatever they made us learn on that Scantron, as far as philosophy goes. So being here as a stand-up in a philosophy, setting, as far as the philosophy of comedy, it was a juxtaposition for me, because what the worst thing you can do to a joke, let alone your whole setup, is diagram it, and that's what you people asked me to do.
You did it beautifully. You really did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so it's when I get up there, I get up on the stage for a very selfish reason. For me. End of day. I am up there for me. But I go up there with the understanding that there's a social contract, that I am there in the premise of stand-up comedy. I'm not up there on my soapbox. I'm not there to give a dramatic reading of my Facebook posts. Like, I'm not there to necessarily change anybody's opinion. But I have done, there's Akron, Ohio, has this place called Cuyahoga Falls. It is nicknamed Caucasian Falls. It is Trump country 101. Like, this is in Ohio, this is where they went red. And I am not at all a member of Trump country. He won't let me in anymore. But when I go there, I still do my NRA jokes. I still do my Trump jokes, but I phrase them and I inflect them a little bit different, because I know I'm walking that line of offending them in places that I don't think should be offensive. I don't think it should be offensive when I say, when I talk about his legislation on abortion. They voted for him for that legislation, and I talk about how I quoted him in, I did it, I'm not an OBGYN, but I do play one in Congress. I have to make that applicable to them. So when we're talking about, first of all, you have to be funny. Second of all, you do have to pull the audience into your experience. So when you say, I laugh at jokes where women get hit, and you say that's categorically wrong, that's immoral. Hold on. I grew up in an abusive household. One of the jokes I do, which was in my speech, was I can read a room. I'm very good growing up in abusive households. I get body language, I get atmosphere. I can read the room like the back of my father's hand. That's a joke about child abuse, specifically against me. I have scars on my body, specifically against me. And now you people just laugh at my abuse. But it's that suspension of reality to make it, at least to me, congruent with my reality. And so that's where I think I do believe it's categorically wrong to just come out and say, I laugh at abused women. That's completely, I know that's not what you said, but that is what you said, and that's what I think what we're doing. You know what I mean?
That's not what I said.
Exactly.
That's not what I said. You guys ever see that video of that one girl throwing the shovel at the other girl? That was hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah, I think just to respond to that, what you just said, there's a kindness, there's a great kindness in being a comedian that, like Ollie was saying earlier, is prepared to talk about things that happen to them and have that intimacy with the audience and giving the audience permission to laugh. You just gave us permission to laugh at something and it helps. I'm gonna say I don't think that all jokes in which women get hit are categorically wrong. For the examples that you've both just given, I also should apologise quickly because I'm going to give you an opportunity to slightly correct what you said, which was you said I think jokes in which women get hit are funny. It's possible for jokes in which women get hit to be funny. I think is that they might be funny if the butt of the joke is not. If there is some empowerment for you in making that joke, then and it can be funny. I would certainly agree that it can be funny. Is that something we can agree on?
Agreements!
All
Alright, panel over.
Yeah, panel over. Yeah, we won.
I want to say real quick, my dad's ex-wife lives in Stowe, and you're right, that place is white as fuck. It is
How do
gross.
those jokes go? Oh, so are we still going up?
Oh, yeah, no, I did want to ask.
Who's that guy?
Yeah. So I wanted to get to Chris. You did mention the history. You were alluding to some different historical figures in stand-up comedy.
Sure.
So do you feel like? Yeah, I want to ask you. Do you feel like these trends are changing in terms of where people see themselves on? Like, well, do you see any trends in this in terms of social criticism?
Yeah, I think comedy, like any other form of entertainment, is sort of it's an ebb and flow. There are times where social commentary becomes incredibly high, and it's like the primary form of comedy. I think we're in that state right now. And then if you go to like 2008, when Dane Cook had a new special on Comedy Central, it became way less about social commentary and just about straight entertainment. I would argue that even unintentionally, comedians are still commentary on society, whether it is like active, like whether you are saying this joke about the Black Lives Matter movement or the Women's March or whatever the case may be, or if you're just getting up there and you are doing hacky material. Depending on how it goes over, that is still a commentary on society. The audience's like digestion of what you have said maintains some sort of commentary on society as a whole, and I think that's why the sort of trends in comedy change.
So you're then conceiving, so if I understand you correctly, you're basically saying that if someone goes on stage and they're doing hacky material and it's not related to something going on in society, there is the event has a social meaning in some way, but it's not like they're engaging in social criticism.
No, the performer is not, but it still has social, like there's still social currency involved.
It's like if everything's cool in the world, man, then we can just be lighthearted.
Yeah.
And if there's a lot of shit to talk about, then we've got to get serious and buckle down.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of is like, sorry. But that is kind of like the way comedy ebbs and flows. It's sort of like that is if you look at the grand scheme of things, sort of when, for lack of better terms, shit is real fucked up. Commentary becomes so much higher in comedy. And when things are kind of more okay, like, don't get me wrong, 2008, George Bush was still in the White House and things like that, but we were kind of coming down from a long period of like stuff being really messed up. And I think that's why sort of comedy started coming back down. If you go to the late 80s and early 90s, again, it's like a huge peak of social commentary is what is like kind of the mainstream in comedy. And then jump back again to like the civil rights movement. Commentary is a big thing. Whether it is directly related to that movement or not, it's still like people are seeking out that commentary as their form of entertainment.
I think it's definitely, so I was just going to say that there's a thing that various different political philosophers have said about how everything that gets said is political in some way. If you're not explicitly saying something political, then the fact that you're not trying to say something political is itself political. I was going to say, are we taking questions from the audience?
Yes, we are. Well, we're going to take them later, but no, you raise your hand. Go for it.
Okay, well, this is really interesting to me because I work with a group, I study political satire, and I work with a group of people around the world who study political satire. So from Germany, Israel, Australia, believe it or not, China, which is a different discussion, and the UK. And all of our studies point to the fact that the audience wants to be entertained first. And that a lot of the reason they come to you, especially in stand-up comedy, as opposed to selectively opting into, let's say, like late-night comedy, like Stephen Colbert or something like that, is to be distracted from politics in society. So I find it really interesting that you feel some social imperative to sort of use your comedy as a way to make political commentary because the times are so tough, when the opposite is actually true of what the audience is seeking. And I wondered what you thought about that.
Yeah, when Chris was saying that, I was going to say, I actually feel the opposite. Because what I'm seeing is more people doing, it's becoming more introspective about yourself instead of more like hourly about the world or wherever you're at.
Yeah, I agree, but isn't there can internal commentary still be about a social thing as a whole? Like a lot of...
Not joke about cats.
Well, I mean,
Well, sure, but
as far
that's
as me,
The personal is political, like the motto.
So, well, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like political satire, I study it, but I am just interested in this fact that there seems to be this juxtaposition between what audience research tells us they want and seek and their primary motive and goal for meeting your audience and what you think they seem to want from you is completely disparate. And I just wondered, it's sort of like why we see so many pictures of saved animals on Facebook right now. Because people are trying to avoid political
Animals are
I would
pretty
say-
I think she
So I just
You
wondered what
ever
your
seen about
thoughts
an
are
animal?
on that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
If you could let me finish what you were saying.
No, that was just it. Like
I
I'm
will
not
say-
saying satire isn't persuasive. I'm not saying it isn't important. I'm not saying some populations don't so opt into it. But I am just saying, worldwide. I'm not even speaking U.S.-centric here. Worldwide, more and more audience reception studies or audience agency studies, depending what discipline you come from, they say they come to comedy as for enjoyment first. And if there's, and also just, I mean, I could add on to that all of our research tells us the most persuasive political comedy is not explicit, it's subtle. And so I find it really interesting that you make very, like you feel the need to make explicit social commentary or explicit political jokes when those actually only polarize the populace more.
I don't think they do.
Let's suppose the research says it does.
Yeah.
I will say economics seems to suggest that humans have no idea what they want. Like the failing of economics over and over and over shows that our best theories seem to indicate that we regularly go against our best interests and what we think we want.
Are you saying that from the point of view of what the comic's delivering or what the audience is?
What the audience is self-reporting that they want may not actually bear on what the audience do want, because regardless of what they sort of self-report or think they want, I'm skeptical of any sort of study which doesn't take into account the complete irrationality of most people. I'll also say that you were right when you said that comedy is selfish, because when you're saying we have imperatives to make these social claims, half of us, maybe more.
Oh, I think she was saying that I was saying that. And also, she...
Well, I think some people on the panel are that have said that.
The social commentary is more
I think there's a very, honestly, and I don't need to insert myself in your panel, I think there's just a very interesting and good diverse set of perspectives on that. I don't think everyone there, I think it's really nice your cross-cutting perspective on what you think your role is as a comic. But I just wanted to just throw in there, like, if you have this piece of information of social science research, which has been replicated over 100 times in 30 different countries, that you can dismiss if you want, but we have social science evidence on that. Well, how do you react to that? Does that change your perspective on your role?
Well, that's what I was reacting in a sense. I'm not saying I don't think you don't have that research. I studied cellular molecular biology. I understand when people dismiss well, no, actually, I have population values. I you know, like I get that. Give me a science journal and I love it. You know, I can sit. So I'm not saying that research is unfounded or just to dismiss it. You asked a question if I agree or not. And that's what I don't agree as far as it's divisive. I don't believe political has to be divisive. And I don't believe because I disagree with somebody. My mom's a Trump voter. I still went to Christmas, got kicked out of dinner, but I came back. And I got her birthday gift in January. You know what I mean? Like it's people are multifaceted and complex. One of my favorite jokes from a Cleveland stand-up is he talks about, you know, like everybody knows Trump supporters, they know racists, they know this, and you don't have to like them, but like I love them. I mean, my family, you know, like people have complex relationships with those they humanize. And what I think my political, at least me and my audacity to try and understand my own comedy, is I'm trying to humanize what I view as my oppressors. I can't separate politics from my life, from social, from personal. I can't do that. The reason, because it's just to give a personal anecdote, in the state of Ohio, a convicted rapist can sue for parental rights. That doesn't mean he'll get it. In other states, they have. So I chose to have an abortion. I would not be able to do that now because about a month ago, Cait signed a 20-week abortion ban. So those politics are important to me. So when I get up there and I do selfish things and I become intimate, you know, I was going to be a nun. I teach Sunday school. I'm Irish Catholic, and the reason I got kicked out at Christmas dinner is because I yelled at my mom for the first time about that. And I have to reconcile that somehow. And I think a lot of people in the audience have to reconcile what's going on in the world. And they as much as they may say, oh, I don't want to think about it, it's all over Facebook, it's all over this, da-da-da, I think what they really want to do is not think about it as a separation. They want to think about it as a unifying force. And I am a strong believer in democracy. I am a strong believer. I don't think we should ever have a Greek-centric democracy, and that's not what we have in the United States.
Because you're American.
Yeah, right, but that's where I do apologize because I don't mean to dismiss, especially coming from the science community, I don't mean to dismiss anybody's hard work and hard research, and these are the facts, especially as a woman. No, these are the facts.
They're not. Those are opinions.
Well, no, but her research is she gathered the number of 10 opinions.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so that's what that's where I'm coming from as far as my perspective and my stand-up is. I use stand-up to reconcile the political and personal. And what is political? The general public.
I feel like people
I see that point.
I know, she looks
Cait. So she looked back there?
Yeah, I just want to make one point, but then I have a question.
Yeah.
So, because that's, I'm sorry.
No, do both.
Okay. So I was just going to say, I don't think that Heather said that they were all self-reports, right?
No, they're not all self-reports.
Yeah, so I think there's other ways
How was it gathered?
to inquire into that.
Yeah, why don't you come down here, actually?
I don't want to I think there's other important questions, and I just was interested.
Yeah.
It's experiment. It is some of it's large survey, but a lot of this is done experimentally in labs. And so, and we can talk about that later for people who are interested.
Cait,
But I
There's a danger going down a rabbit hole of what social science is.
Cait,
I didn't need to completely.
No. But
I think there's other questions, but I just wondered what your reaction would be to knowing the audience research of what they say they want, and that was it.
Cait,
right or wrong answer. I just was interested in your thoughts.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll hear Sheila's question and comment, and then we can go down the line and actually maybe react to that question.
Opposite direction.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
This is something that I feel like I learned from my local comedian friends here. It's this phrase that you guys use, one of you that I've not met coined it, accuracy before comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really relevant to this conversation.
It's on my house press.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about accuracy before comedy.
Okay, so it started as just like a bit between three friends about how it originally started just sort of as the idea that it is first and foremost important to be accurate before funny. And it started as just like, we came up with it maybe a year or two into comedy, and it was just sort of how, like...
It's how you reconcile not being funny.
That's totally what I was getting at.
I'm sorry.
Is that it started
I
as...
have to call you LeMaire.
Yeah. It started as a bit, you know, of us saying, first and foremost, it is important to be accurate before funny, and it started sort of making fun of that idea.
Okay.
Making fun of the idea that, because we had people who were in the local comedy scene who would get off stage after bombing and say, oh, they just didn't get it. Like, it just went over their head.
Yeah.
So accuracy before comedy kind of became a motto for those people, and then it sort of it carried out from there to be something we still say.
Yeah, it's just
way later.
When somebody corrects you and they're like, "No, you didn't wait 1,000,000 minutes.
Yeah.
You waited 23."
Yeah. Or it's even when people it's the mentality we have when people come up and challenge us on something we said on stage. I have a bit, Sheila likes it, about seeking old women, and in a sense, I've had discussion with other comedians about this. Uncomfortably, it is about sort of taking sexual advantage of them, but it's because of it's such.
That just made it sound so terrible and not.
Well, yeah, because I'm not doing it, I'm explaining it, right? that kills the joke. But it is the absurd idea of that. It's more of a commentary on the fact that anyone would take sexual advantage of anybody. But I have people who, after I tell that joke, first of all, they're okay with it. I've never ever had somebody morally challenge me on that joke, which I think is a fun little piece of evidence.
Have you had anyone ask you out?
Yeah. But I have had people come up to me after the show and be like, do you really find very old women attractive? Because the joke is about women who are 80 and geriatric and have hospice care assistants, and it is a long bit, and it is very much up, but people still people address me it is fact that I am attracted and seeking older women. And that's sort of where accuracy before comedy comes in to today. It's this idea of people kind of holding us accountable for what we say on stage.
Which, to an extent, is a reasonable thing to do, and to an extent is absurd in itself. Because if you're doing comedy writing, you have to write things that are patently ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Everything you say on stage can't be true. Everything you say can't be true.
Exactly.
That would be insane.
It's a describer for the suspension, the lack of ability to suspend your disbelief.
Yes,
that's a better way to put it.
I think a big point on that is that when talking about what to judge or what to hold accountable, you should hold the absurdity accountable. In that instance, I'm thinking from a metalhead's perspective here. There's a band called Cannibal Corpse, and they have albums banned all over the world because they have very graphic and gruesome album covers. And so there are album covers of a woman giving birth to multiple demons, and they're tearing her apart while there's entrails on the wall. And it's hyper horror, and it's deliberately gory and horrible. And some people
presumably people don't come up to them and go, "That doesn't really happen, does it?"
Exactly. No one thinks that they're into doing that type of thing. But even the band themselves recognise that art is offensive and should be held accountable. And so they don't go and complain. I think their albums are banned in Germany. They've never said that it's wrong that Germany's banned, and they've gone, well, that they don't accept that, and that's fine. And I think that's what needs to happen more in comedy, is that if you're an artist and you create something, you should be held responsible for your creation, not for you as the person, or not for you as the embodiment of that ideal.
What do you mean by? Do you mean the quality of the creation, or the words you're saying?
Picture the joke as an album cover, and it's a painting.
Yeah.
You shouldn't say that the person who made the painting about a dismembered corpse also likes a dismembered corpse. But if that painting seems to be just offensive, or if that painting doesn't seem to have a proper type of subtext to it, then by all means go, well, that's just a gruesome depiction of a body. Then you can criticise it for that way, and you can also criticise the artist for that, but we don't in any other art form seem to make that extra step to, well, the painter also likes to dismember people.
Yes, well then context is everything. So those album covers can be found and seen by someone going into a record shop and store, and they
it's called iTunes.
That's a translator.
It's called iTunes.
Or they can. I mean, so the internet. One of the wonderful things about the internet is that people can find what it is they're looking for, whatever fucked up, whatever that is, and they are not, as a general rule, subjected to things that they don't want to see or that they would be offended by. Now, in a way, that's not so good, because I think it can often be good for people to see things that offend. But at the same time, nothing is rammed down people's throats, usually, although then things get complicated. Anyway, can I ask a question?
Oh yeah, we do have one. Yeah.
Okay, it is not a question, it's a comment.
Yeah, okay.
Coming off of responsibility, though, and I'm also a practitioner, and I just never responded to be on this panel. So I have opinions. A number of times over the course of this conference, I've heard a number of people quote George Carlin saying, I like to find out where people draw the line and deliberately step across it. What's interesting to me is that no one, and speaking to responsibility, almost no one has said the second half of that quote, which is, I like to find out where they draw the line, deliberately step across it, take them with me, and make them glad they came.
Yeah.
And to me, that is exactly speaking to, it's not necessarily that they have to agree with you, but that on some level, I have not wasted their fucking time.
Yeah.
I think in my fuck you,
well, that comes back. There was a talk yesterday on heckling. And I think the idea of, like, I took them across the line and I made them glad that they came comes back to the initial primary obligation of the comedian, is that you have to get laughter out of it. And
or if you don't get laughter, you've somehow paid it off in a way that's so deeply compelling.
Let's use laughter to stand.
I will say one of my things is that my character, it is such an odd, like, I don't do character, I speak from experience and that's what I do, but when I get up there, I'm obviously a de-hyperbolized rape victim. That's what I'm presenting. And in the same aspect, it's re-hyperbola of that. So in responsibility and making glad they came.
Can you tell me what that means?
Hyperbola?
I mean like the whole thing.
I mean, what you're feeling now is what being at a philosophy conference is like all the time.
I just want to make jokes. I don't want to. I just want to be funny. You guys like dogs? I don't know.
So essentially, what I do when I have it is I do comedy as a piece of protest, in a sense. That's what I am, because I've felt my entire life, my existence is a piece of protest by the very fact that I already make people uncomfortable. I walk into a room and you don't know it yet, but as soon as I open my mouth to learn anything about me, you're now uncomfortable. I've been ghosted by so many boyfriends, I think my vagina's haunted. You know what I mean? Like, once you figure something out, it's intense, my intensity. It's, what?
He said the bits.
No bits?
Sorry.
I only got lady bits, but,
But you take them with you.
Yeah, right? But that's what I do, is that hyperbola of what I noticed when I was going through the trial is that I had to be just a woman raped. Period. I wasn't allowed any other identity. I had to delete my Facebook because of what a like could be used against me. And that's in its sense is a hyperbola of a person. It's a derivative and exaggerated human being. It's a character that, even though it is part of my truth, that I had to play. So when I take that to stand-up, that's why I like stand-up, that's why I'm selfish about my stand-up. And I would say about crossing the line. We'll get that. Crossing the line and bringing them back over is I got heckled. I got heckled once. Well, I get heckled a lot, but the specific time that I got heckled was one of the biggest crowds I played to, and a man from the back yelled, "I wouldn't have raped you." And he meant it in the sense that, like, you're ugly. And what I did to handle that was, obviously, I threw up after my set. I went home and I cried in the shower. And that's stuff that I don't bring to the stage. That is not what I want to bring to the stage. Because I want to pull people into my reality across the line and bring them back, like George Carlin said, make them glad. The crowd's whole atmosphere shifted. And what I realized was I was in a safe space. By being vulnerable, by being responsible, even though this man had attacked me, I can now be creative. And it was a verbal attack and an aggression. This was a threat.
Can I ask what
Well, that's what I'm getting. And when I noticed that, I knew I had the rest of the crowd with me. The rest of the crowd was going to, if I said, hey, punch that dickhole in the face, somebody would have, you know what I mean? But I didn't want that. I don't like subversive violence. And so what I had everybody do, I said, everybody, where's the guy? Where is he? What did he say? I pointed him out. And I had him, and I was like, I want to let you guys know these are red flags. These are red flags. The red flags that will be used against you in your own trial. When a man makes jokes like that, and he's not the mic, this is what this man will be used against you. You should have known better. You should have been more prepared. You shouldn't have laughed it off like a joke like everybody else. And I said, this comedy stuff is very serious business. And the whole crowd and he skirted out the bed. No one had to kick him out. He was very embarrassed. I'm not saying like I have a monicum of always being able to handle that, but the ability to notice the room was with me. I had created my own safe space.
All right, two things. Comedy is selfish. Comedy is selfish, and the point of like you're getting up there for you, but you should make it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're getting up there and you're just like, you're just like being, I don't know, whatever. I don't think safe spaces are conducive to good comedy. You gotta be, I don't know. I feel like you need a sense of danger to be like, I gotta be funny or these people are gonna hurt me.
Let's not go there.
So we're moving on to we're sort of moving off the topic. I still want to get to actually your reactions to that, to the social science research about people's demand. I think also I wanted to add one thing, which is that I wonder whether like the heroes that we, in every decade, the comedic heroes that we really admire, they might just be, they're like one of whatever, maybe like 200, 100 working, let's be honest, probably 5 working comics. And so in other words, we really like we really like respect the George Carlins, or we really like Louis C.K. or something like that. But on the other hand, you've got people like
John Mulaney, Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, in other words, you have people. Who's the guy who's hosted the Oscars 7 times? I shouldn't remember.
Jimmy Kimmel, Ricky Gervais,
Billy
Crystal.
Billy Crystal, yeah, like a Billy Crystal comedy is not. It's interesting because it sort of more goes to what you're talking about. It's a relief thing, and actually maybe the comedy industry is full of lots of people, and then there's right at the top of the deck there's a George Carlin, and everyone goes, "Oh, comedy's George Carlin." So, how do you react to that?
Hey guys, I have a question about the research real quick.
Dave Chappelle's the best comedian alive.
Does the research account for, bringing Dave Chappelle up is a really good point, so I'm just going to bring him up. Does it count, societal commentary through the medium of self? Like a good example is in Dave Chappelle's newest specials on Netflix. He has one joke specifically that it's very long, and a lot of people don't like it, but it's about his experience being a black comedian and finding out about the Bill Cosby stuff. Now, while that joke is about his own individual experience with that, it is still societal commentary because he has a platform and he's talking about his specific experience with it, not saying it represents the voice of all black comedians or all comedians on how they felt about Bill Cosby, but still that one man's experience is still valuable social commentary.
I wasn't trying to imply that comments shouldn't be social commentary.
No, and I'm not saying you were. I'm asking though, you said that
agrees for comics have been social commentary.
Yes.
So that's the tradition of comedy. I wasn't trying to imply that. And I wasn't trying to imply people don't get enjoyment from social commentary. I was trying to say that the research says overwhelmingly enjoyment first.
Yeah.
I
They
have
don't want
a
to be
response.
preached at. They want to laugh with you. And so I just wonder, and so that was my point. And that research has been done across, we started it, 30 years ago, looking at late night monologues. And then it has grown to be late night comedy, stand-up comedy, Netflix specials, comedic films, like films like Sicko.
And
or
what's
Making
happening
for
is
Smoking.
when you're saying that that's the rule that you found, is that when
Enjoyment
political
first.
times are hard, people want to turn more to
Away from.
more towards entertainment or towards the gags.
Yeah,
rather
like
than
just like the more politically
People
polarized
laugh.
society. Like in a time of war, you could make war jokes. We saw that happen all the time under George Bush's presidency. But they want a lighthearted, funny, ha-ha.
Oh, well, okay. So I've got a simple
Like
answer to
sitcom.
why.
So this goes a lot
Sorry.
to tone.
Great.
I would say it goes a lot to tone, not content.
Right. So I've got a very, very simple answer to why it is that comedians want to talk about political things, even though often their audience don't want that.
Yeah, I think it's good. But that's
And the response that I would have is because comedians are intelligent, engaged people who want to talk about political things. And it's as simple as that.
Well,
That's what I wanted to.
I just want to say something short. It's like, I think we all kind of agree that we want to make people laugh. It's not like even though I do research on feminist comedy, I try to work towards making people laugh. Otherwise, I would be like a cliche understanding of unfunny feminists. So it is, I think, we all think that entertainment is, of course, first. And I would be surprised if the research results would be otherwise. Like people saying, I want to learn, I want to be feeling righteous. I don't know.
I want TV to make me feel bad about it.
When you go to a stand-up comedy club, you go just to laugh. Of course, the life is hard and you want to laugh. And,
No, I'm gonna have to start calling you LeMaire.
so I think but it's very nice to also hear that the people who want to make people laugh also take the responsibility of what they are saying to make people laugh. And I think I think the answer is
Why do I?
I don't know if you have objections.
I'm sorry. Why should we be responsible for why people laugh? Like we shouldn't be able to. We should control our context, but we don't have to control their context.
Yeah, you can never control it. That's actually also that was a great point which we already discussed during the conference as well. That even though you may be thinking that you are doing a subversive kind of comedy or you are trying to make a good point, you never know why the audience is laughing. Like we were talking, I was giving, for example, in my talk about self-deprecation. There were like in feminist scholarship there have been criticisms that when you take yourself as a part of a comedy, then you are making, as a woman, you are not making something progressive. You're like just trying to abide to the rules of patriarchy and make yourself a target to get the laugh. But then there has been also some other studies who are showing that this might also be a critique to the society. And you never know what kind of audience who will laugh with you or laugh at you or laugh even with and at you at the same time. So you can never know if you are really doing something subversive or not, if your social commentary, the intention that you have, is going to reach the audience. So I think that point is also clear.
Wasn't that why Chappelle quit the Chappelle show? Because
Bill Burr was
there were like old white dudes laughing at the wrong stuff.
It was Bill Burr. It was Bill Burr.
It was Bill Burr who was laughing at it.
That seems to be the leading theory.
It wasn't Bill Burr.
It was on. You can look
I
up
thought it
online.
was executives.
There's an O&A episode.
enough to be on a Dave Chappelle panel.
There's an O&A episode on YouTube where Bill Burr's in the studio and they're talking about it and they get very close to just admitting straight up that it was Bill Burr's signature laugh at Dave Chappelle dressed as like an old school, like in the blackface garb doing the dance was actually what seemed to trigger Dave Chappelle.
Oh, I thought from what he said it was like the angel.
I don't think creating, essentially when I don't think it's anybody's human responsibility to make somebody grab them by the scruff of the neck and say, look what you just did. Look what we're complicit in. Look what society has done to us as humanity. As comedians, though, we have the opportunity and the privilege of a platform. It's as small as it might be in 30 people. You know, when essentially what I meant by I created my own safe space is those people would have absolutely, they wouldn't have held it against me if I walked off the stage. They wouldn't have held it against me if I never came back to comedy. Those people in that room, they wouldn't have held any of that against me, and I knew that. There was a feeling of camaraderie. They had just spent 5 to 7 minutes laughing at rape jokes about my personal rape. And now these people are turning around and saying, that's wrong. Which I don't know if I changed it. Maybe they already knew that. Maybe they were already decent human beings when they walked into the room. From what they laughed at before my set, I don't think so. But that's just, you know, it's they literally, I got up there, and that's what I mean by I created my own safe space by, I entertained them. And I do. What I like to do with the hyperbola of the dehyperbolized rape victim, that's the character essentially that I play in a sense. Even though it is me, it is my truth, it is my experiences.
Did you like watch yourself do a lot of stand-up before?
No, I had to do a talk here. Hold on, just one moment. To get to my point.
And then we'll get to some more questions.
It's a, I go out there very critiqued in myself, and I learned that from the rape trial. I go out there I know what specific thing I want to get across, and I'm not offended if it doesn't come back that way. But I do go back to the drawing board and workshop it more. But when I go out there and I do that, what I do is I bring the joy. That's my goal at the end of it. As much as it's selfish, I find joy out of seeing people laugh. I find joy, and I always have. And to me, it's selfish because I'm trying to elicit joy from the audience. That's why it's so. It's a cyclical, at least for my comedy, and what I see in other comedians too. Whether they take sheep shots, whether they're hacks, whether they do inappropriate jokes, offensive jokes, whatever it is there is a social contract with the audience. And it's not about content, it's more, and it's not just about delivery, it's more about the essence of entertainment and the essence of, even if this is not why you came to here tonight, I'm actually enjoying this. I don't know, have you guys ever had that where you go to a show and you're like, hey.
Okay, well, I'd like to, I see a lot of hands going up, and I've missed some of them, so my apologies. But what I'd like to do now is ask, give an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you could direct the question at a particular person or a particular group of people.
Also, if they could be no more than 10 words.
Can I say one thing about hacks, please?
140 characters.
One thing about hacks.
Are you going to defend hacks right now?
No, we keep saying hacks, but if they're getting laughs, they're doing their job.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, I can go to Walmart and do my fucking job and still be bad at it. Like, just because
that's a great point, like, Sheila.
So I just wanted to, LeMaire, I know you don't like the idea of comedy and safe spaces, but I think there's a way that you'd be comfortable with what Cait is talking about when you talk about being heckled and knowing that the room is on your side, that they're with you and against the heckler. I think that's what we're talking about as far as a safe space. Not like nobody's going to say anything that might offend another, but that the comedian knows that it's not the whole crowd against me. I know how to deal with the heckler because the crowd wants the heckler to shut up.
Yeah. I would even say in most occasions, the audience becomes a safe space the moment they're on your side.
Yeah.
Like, whether I walk into a place where I feel unwelcome, or I've been in places where I felt like I would piss someone off if I wasn't funny and I would never come back. But as soon as I made anybody on my side, as soon as the crowd became on my side, it became every time I've ever been heckled, except for at the Insane Clown Posse concert. The crowd has been on my side.
That doesn't mean it's safe space for everyone in the crowd.
No, but we're talking about safe space as performers, not audience members.
Question?
Yeah, I was just wondering whether anyone on the panel would say that they could appreciate or admire a comedian that they don't agree with? Because a lot of people at this conference seems to suggest the answer is no.
I
Bill Cosby is one of the greatest.
Oh, wait, let's
If
The fact being is the whole person's personal life.
let him finish with a question.
Yeah, like this is philosophy, so if I come to a talk, usually I don't agree with what the person's saying, and I could leave saying that was a great talk. I don't really get why people, anyway, so for me, there are many comics that I appreciate. I think if I met them in person, had a conversation, I wouldn't agree with their views, but I think they're funny. I would wonder whether anyone on the panel would agree.
If they're good at the craft, they're good at the craft.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's also a separation of does their art outweigh the humanity of if they have direct victims. Being an asshole and being a serial rapist is completely different. He used his celebritydom and his wholesome act to cover and degrade and dismiss his victims. So when we speak specifically about Bill Cosby, I feel like that's or Andy, what's his name? Andy Tosh.
Wait, did you put up the Cosby Show though? Like, I mean, that's a great show.
Well, and it's not that you can't.
There's a comedian named.
But I have a lot of comedians in my life or just local comedians that are assholes who land a well-timed joke. You know what I mean? It's you do have to, as far as comedy.
But I think that's you're answering a different. He's not asking the question of what the person is like as a performer on stage and what they're like off stage. He's saying they're making a point that you disagree with on stage, but you still respect the way they.
Patrice O'Neill has an amazing bit which I fundamentally disagree with, and I think it's one of the funniest extended bits of stand-up. He talks about how women in his life they were looking for jobs. And he had to give them a job. And you're acting like the CEO when you're barely washing dishes. And then he goes on to make the connection that he loves his dogs in a way that he doesn't love his wife or his fiance, because his dog needs him, and she acts like she doesn't need me. And my dog, I don't agree with the politics of that at all. And that's one of my favourite bits of stand-up because of the craft and because of how it comes along. So absolutely, I can find something funny while disagreeing with it and thinking it's morally repugnant.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. Like, I don't have to give further examples, but it's like there are some comedians that I hate the persona, but I laugh at the jokes. So I appreciate the talent and the experience. So I agree with that.
Even if I don't think the jokes are particularly good or funny, I will still watch, and I like to dismantle the bit. So I like to look at the joke and say, well, if I don't like it, or even if it fails, I will look at it and say, this is where I think they were going with it. This is how I think they wrote it. This is where they intended to punch, things like that. Because I think it's all important stuff to learn. You can learn from unfunny comedians just as much as you can learn from hilarious comedians.
I am a fan of Anthony Jeselnik and Daniel Tosh, not completely, but I'm a fan of what they do. I personally think they would love to be me because it'd give them more material. You know what I mean? It's not about, and that's also something that I speak on, trying to essentially, as much as I joke about daddy issues, I have mommy issues too, where I want my mom to laugh at my comedy. And when I get my mother to laugh at a joke, I know it's good because I know she fundamentally does not agree with me. That's...
Yeah, at risk of lowering the tone, I'm going to say just one sentence, which is that I really love W.B. Yeats because he's a great poet, but I disagree with his politics. And in that, the poetry's still good, even though what he's saying is bad.
Yes.
So we've had a lot of talk about comedy before, things like, or discussing controversy or social issues, especially with the sociology case we've been talking about. And I wanted to know what the panel thought about our paradigm cases of comedians over the last 30 or 40 years, and how it's kind of indicative of how much an audience first values comedy, but then immediately follows valuing really good critical commentary, because we have people like Dave Chappelle providing that, George Carlin providing that, Richard Pryor providing that, Louis C.K. providing that, just almost every comic, maybe aside from Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy and Billy Crystal, the vast majority of the comics that we consider paradigmatic of the art are not only funny, but they just have this acerbic biting wit and just dig into society. So while I think it's fair to say that comedy comes first and trying to get a laugh comes first, I think you have to pair that with understanding that the very next thing within fractions of an inch of that is biting social commentary, because it's what makes comedians amazing.
No,
rather than just
what makes
Joey Diaz.
No, what makes comedians amazing is the ability to make their reality relatable. That's what makes them amazing. You don't need social commentary to be relatable. We all have those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone here has read Sam Friedman research on.
Could you speak a little louder?
Yes, Sam Friedman is a British researcher who made a terrific research about audiences and the type of comedy, and how people in the industry will shape what the audience will appreciate or not. Saying that for years, and I'm not going to help the case of academics here, but we did put high comedy or intellectual comedy, political satire, social comment has the top form. Well, other form of comedy has been to have a terrible profile or reputation within the history of comedy, because some people, some elites, decided that high comedy was the form to follow.
Yeah.
And I'm not helping the case of academics here, but as I said, and some scholars like Jessica Milner Davis came with some nice research a couple of years ago, and it's in the Encyclopedia of Humor Studies, saying that, you know, high comedy that, you know, appeals to your brain, and low comedy that will appeal to that visceral reaction, they're both good. And you can find masterpieces in those two genres throughout the history of humankind. And some of the greatest masterpieces that we can have in theater were actually low comedy.
Yeah.
So
The Clouds, for example.
Yeah. So to say that if you want to make it as a comedian, you have to do social comment, it's actually, I think it's censoring the art form.
Yeah.
It's also, I'm sorry for that.
LeMaire, can you tell us a little more about Coco?
It's me. I've been shouting.
I was going to say, like, Andrew Dice Clay was the first comic to sell out Madison Square Garden, and there's no commentary in his jokes. Yeah. So,
I think the reason why we hold sorry.
Well, I just like people have heard of Andrew Dice Clay because like that was like he's the rock star persona. Same thing with Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
It's all Rodney Dangerfield who got them where they were. So thank him for that. People also didn't realize that Andrew Dice Clay was a character. Joey Diaz, go look him up. You're gonna be grossed out, and you're gonna find yourself laughing harder than you've ever laughed at nothing, but just him talking about like his life and like crazy shit. Like he talked, like the way he explains how he has sex will make you go, and then you just die laughing. Like you can't help yourself. I don't think he's ever said anything about, but like the dude is super smart. He has like, you know, like his background, he should have been a political guy because of like his entire background, but he decided
there's
just to
also,
be.
I mean, I know these are all American comedians who are brilliant, and a lot of them I think are brilliant as well. In the UK, there is very much a tradition of kind of low comedy mixed with that kind of visceral Stuart Lee, that Ollie talked about earlier, Frank Skinner. There's a guy with a master's degree in Shakespeare from Warwick University, talks mostly about anal sex. That's his thing that he talks about. That's his niche. If you like. But yeah, you can do both, and you can create literary stuff about low topics. The high and low is not real. It's not a real thing.
It's
I think the reason that you have that.
I do want to get to her, and then we'll go to you.
Okay.
All right, no, so this is actually coming off of that, because we're talking about high comedy versus low comedy, but we're also talking, and LeMaire said this, you know, the question is, and I want to ask each of you to say this in 5 words or less, what's the difference between hack and comedy that's funny? What defines a hack?
Well, hack can be funny though. Like I was talking with LeMaire, like hack can be funny. That doesn't.
5 words or less. What makes it hack?
Hard work saying something original.
I think it's appealing to the lowest stereotypes.
I don't believe there is hack. I don't believe. I think it's something that jealous comedians say to one another.
Hack is what other people have already done.
Okay.
That's no still.
Then everything. Yeah.
Easy material. Easy material, low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
What do you?
Like it's a lot of like punching down and things like that.
There is no such hack. No. No hacks. I don't think hacks a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because that keeps coming back up, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to know. Oh, some people didn't answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes about. I'm making a list. So no. Answer if you have thoughts on that.
Oh,
I think.
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Did you?
No. Who cares? I laughed.
Yeah.
Period. You've got one more word.
It's fine. Period is a word now.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because hack does go to that entire, like, if you were to create a space between high and low comedy, hack is like the Maginot line or something.
Well, no, I think it's actually on the side. You can hack high comedy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
Did you see what the president did?
Yeah.
Sure.
A lot of physical comedy is quite hack.
Oh, for sure. But I think it also becomes hack. I think in a year or two, political comedy won't be quite as hack. But I think right now, and especially the month of January, if I had $1 for every comedian I heard tell a joke about Trump in January, I could have paid my student loans for probably 6 months.
Can I just say, I got blocked by Trump in 2012. So I've been on this game. Everybody's just copying me forever.
Well, like you have a give me a hack. Like call someone out. Be brave.
What's his Madison Square Garden?
Like give me like a famous hack, and I will tell you why they're not a hack.
What's his Madison Square Garden? The cook, Dane Cook.
Dane Cook. He's not a hack because people like him.
Jim Davis.
No,
that's the
here's the thing though.
It's not like saying Nickelback is a good band.
I like Nickelback.
There it is.
Don't say it either.
Like, the thing is, like,
what hack is the ability to hit as many people as possible. The reason why we think Dane Cook is hack and Nickelback sucks is because they are hack is designed to incorporate as many people as possible, and there's an elitism about.
Why is that bad?
No one's
Why is that bad that everyone likes them? Why is that bad?
No one's saying it's bad.
That's what you're saying when you say hack. Hack implies bad.
I don't think Dane Cook is.
No, including to you.
No, it's because of the elitism. It's because there's a snooty attitude above it where it's like, well, yeah, everyone could just go for the lowest common denominator and make simple music like Nickelback.
I think it's hack.
I like Jacques.
I think it's hack to hate Nickelback now.
Oh, totally.
It's all like,
But that's because it's an easy joke.
Yeah.
Because it's an easy way of going, we all hate Nickelback, don't we, guys? And we certainly do. What I hate is these higher level concepts that no one hates. That's what makes that joke not hack. And I like free time jazz because I'm superior.
I'm saying what I'm saying is there's bad jokes. There's people who do bad jokes well, but if someone likes them, then who are we to call that bad?
Listen, all I'm saying is hack lives matter.
That's your point.
There's also it's interesting because there's the idea of hack comics. There's also the idea of hack techniques. That certain techniques are hacks. So then you think about, for me at least, I'll be like, oh, this is hack, and then I'm like, oh, a comedian that I love does it. So
going back to this point, that's why I think hack isn't a universal thing. Hack is different to everybody. For me personally, I'm going to say the most controversial thing anyone said today. I don't like George Carlin.
I don't like George Carlin either.
I don't like George Carlin.
Me too.
I didn't want to say that. But he's not funny, is he?
In all honesty, like in my definition of hack, George Carlin falls into it.
But the thing is,
why? Tell me why. Because also does it connect to the social critique thing?
For me, hack is highly physical. Hack because you can laugh at George Carlin on mute.
I feel like there's a
That's
difference.
isn't that?
I think there's
part
a
why
difference
it's
between
great.
hacking first.
Sure.
You know, George Carlin was like first.
No, he wasn't.
Richard Pryor was like first.
George Carlin is just modern vaudeville. It's just he was on TV instead of a theater.
I just think the punchline's not very good.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
When
I was
he
like,
has them, which is very rare.
a majority of his laughs, I personally believe a majority of his laughs comes from his physical response to his punchline. I think if you listen to George Carlin, if you listen to an album of George Carlin, it is not as fun. Exactly. If you listen to a Carlin album, you are losing some of your laughs, some of the laughs you get if you never watch him live. I will say a modern version of that, not saying he's as funny, but Pete Holmes is very similar as well.
Yeah.
Pete Holmes is a great comedian, but because of his physicality.
Dude, you're not laughing at me right now.
Okay, well, I want to ask someone who studies clown.
I also want to know, how many of us are making money doing comedy right now? How many of us?
How much counts?
No, I mean, like, is
She
comedy
was giving me a
your
check for $1,000.
is comedy your only like ways of making money? Like your only means? Like, do you have a day job? Like, is comedy your job?
No.
Not mine.
Yeah, then like, who are we to critique people who have do comedy for a living?
So nobody who has experience in anything should ever critique anything.
That's not what I'm saying. That's
That
not
is exactly what you just said. Because we have
no.
some experience in comedy, we can't critique it.
What I'm saying is that
You don't like labels.
You guys have to remember, LeMaire and I are very good friends. So that's why he's the only one I'm shouting.
It's an aversion to labels. And I find that with a lot of stand-up comics. And that hasn't changed when I first started, when I was 18, to when I took my hiatus and came back. This aversion to labeling your stand-up, labeling anyone's stand-up, seems indicative of putting it in a box, which stand-up is not supposed to be put into. You're not a jack in the box, you're not a gag, you're not a clown. You even if you do some sort of clowning, that is not what this is. This was alternative comedy. You know what I mean? This was something relatively decades old. So it's what I've noticed is a lot of comedians have an aversion to labeling, almost to that they reject all labels, which you're at a philosophy conference. That's what they're trying to do, in a sense. But it's to make my point is.
Okay, and then if you could wrap that, because I want to also get because.
I want to say something else, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow connected to this, but I don't know. I don't like jumping in. That's not in my nature. So I want to say I think it's an interesting point to discuss, and I would love to hear your comments on it. But when you're coming from a marginalized group, you were talking about labeling. So you are expected to do social commentary or political comedy. Like this is something that like marginalized groups, like performers from these marginalized groups, also sometimes complain about, or they also some of them also take this responsibility themselves. And like Zara Nurbakhsh, if I'm saying the name correctly, her last show is on behalf of all Muslims, for example. So I would be interested to hear what you think, because when you are like Muslim, like also sort of a marginalized group, then you are like seen as a representative automatically as well. So maybe this directly labels you in that sense. What do you think about this?
Well, that's an interest. I mean, to me, that's very interesting, because when I think about like black comedians who perform for white audiences usually are very political. Black comedians who perform for black audiences oftentimes can be not political whatsoever. So it sort of does go to that effect that Jamie. I mean, and then if they are popular with black audiences and they cross over, then like Kevin Hart. Like, obviously then he is not political even for white audiences or mainstream audiences, but he sort of came at it this way, as opposed to like a Gerard Carmichael or a Dave Chappelle very quickly seemed to me to jump into white audiences because of the nature of the material he was doing.
So you see a direct relation between the audience that they play for and the role that they take on.
Yes, yeah. I think
actually, there was on Thursday there was this discussion from Meenakshi that she presented about British Asian women, and they were performing for the white audience most of the time, and they are using this sort of insider position to make their cultural backgrounds the butt of their jokes. So in that sense, they become more of entertainers, maybe. Would you call it that way, or what? Does that fit to your?
So they're being entertaining, but they're using their culture in the jokes.
Like, yeah, they are like not making criticism of their marginalized positions, but they are using this position as an insider to make use of the material that they have from their like origins and to make them as jokes for white audience.
I make fun of the 3/5 compromise. I say it's a fair deal. Like, I don't know. You know, I think like if you think about it, it's pretty much a fair deal when you have no worth. When you go from 0 to 3/5, that's it. It's like I do like. It's not like that. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I didn't understand what you meant. Like you have no worth when you are a marginalized group?
No. Historically, black people have no value in America, right? Yeah. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry. You had a question, and then Sheila in the back, and then we'll get over here.
So, and this actually ends up tying into what you were just saying. I feel like hack can be used in interesting ways, but something like the hackiest thing that's happening right now is jokes about Trump's tiny hands. It's so easy, it's so lame, right? It's when I hear them now, I'm not even amused by them. Before it was like, oh, you have a small dick, but now it's just like, yeah, we know, and we're fucking probably in a war now, so like, I don't care about the size of your dick because you have missiles to replace it, right? But I think hack can also be used by those marginalized groups to break up or relieve the social commentary. So you see even like really great commentators who are comedians who are marginalized, like Samantha Bee, by being a woman in comedy, right? Who she'll be talking about a very serious policy issue, which is not hacky, but she'll show a picture of Trump with tiny hands. And it kind of adds this, not only an incongruity, which helps make it funnier, but it also starts to bring in the attention of people who are like, oh, I don't want to hear this commentary. So hack can be used in good ways, but I just don't respect as much a comedian who relies on hack, who their punchline is always something that's the easiest common denominator, the punchline that I already got there before you told it to me.
Stella Young was an Australian comedian who was disabled from birth, and she's only recently passed away, won a whole bunch of awards and accolades, and she was talking before her death about that sort of thing, like hack comedy and whatnot, and the idea that tokenism can be used by oppressed minorities in the sense that some representation is better than no representation, and so that idea coming from the fact that like Mickey Rooney was doing yellow faces and just getting an Asian actor, but that was still a representation of an Asian, and it was a gag joke, but then it started to allow that more and more to come in, and so she said at a certain point you have to make a stand and cut it off, but if you're not getting anywhere before that, like she said, I'm going to make all the jokes at my expense and self-deprecate just to get in front of people's faces and to normalise it, and then people after me can start to come back through, and that if she was making hack jokes as a way of making sure the points got across, like you just said, you can use hack. I think if I was to make those same jokes that she did, they would of course land flat and would be worse than hack because it's not my experience, but they can be used as a vehicle.
And I think you can also use hack topics and do it in a non-hack way.
Absolutely.
Like, so there's this comedian, I can't remember his name, but I can look it up and tell it to you, but the reason that I remember this joke after only seeing him do stand-up one time is because of how well crafted it was. And it was a joke about how when he got a divorce, he started dating much younger women. And he said, he was talking about, oh, of course it's great because they're so hot, and I'm an older man with a younger woman, so I got this trophy wife thing. And I'm in the audience, I'm like, you know, like it's fucking boring, right? But then he says, the only thing that's not firm on a 20-year-old is their grasp of the world and how it works. And I thought that was such a good joke because of how well crafted it was, even though it had a hacky premise. So I think you can use hack in lots of different ways. Oh, of course it was.
Yeah, I mean, like just choosing like intentionally to be hacky so that I can sneak up and hit you like a fucking tornado.
Right. Exactly. And that tells me that that it's a good comedian.
Yeah. So it's dangerous to
I wanted to
even talk
draw
anymore
a
about
parallel.
half.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying it's dangerous to keep talking about half.
It is.
It's been an hour.
I wanted to pick up on a topic that Neslihan just brought up, which was the idea that women are expected to be feminists. So this happens in philosophy as well. So you expect a woman to do feminist philosophy. You expect people of color to do philosophy of race. Freaked out a little bit when you invite someone to campus and it's a white guy doing feminist philosophy of race, right? Well, it's too. But it's, in some ways, it's the most political thing that a person can do is to subvert that expectation and just do your thing, right? So when somebody wants to study early modern, whoever wants to do that can do that in the classical sense, and disrupting that stereotype of associating when women are in philosophy, they are feminist philosophers. When women are in comedy, they are feminist comedians. When men, black men talk about race, black women talk about both, whatever. So I think there's something really powerful to just not doing that. And it might, so like maybe there's not a responsibility to speak that truth.
But this.
I wanted to say, I understand that. That was also what I was saying. Like when you are as a minority group, whether you're a woman or a black or Muslim, you are expected to do these things as well, because this is also kind of your experience. You would want to also maybe do that as well. And there is this thing about not doing. Francis Gray talks about stand-up comedy and says that in the beginning, stand-up comedy has been a space for women to name the things that were in private, the problems, the personalist, political, and these things. But it can be also a good strategy not naming sometimes. Like, for example, an example can be Eddie Izzard, British comedian. He cross-dresses and he doesn't make this material for his comedy. He never talks about this. He doesn't joke about this. Like, at least the things that I watch, maybe he does, but it's not like central.
Early on he did, and then he stopped.
Ah, okay.
He's got one bit, and that's pretty much it.
Actually, wait, no. If you want to get the timeline of Izzard, he wasn't out to TV when he broke through. When he first did Hysteria 3, which is his big breakthrough on TV, he just dressed like a really badly dressed guy who doesn't cross-dress. And then he came out to TV and he did a new material night. He did old material, but he did it in a dress. And he came out to TV and he spoke about it briefly in one or two things. But you're absolutely right, but the vast majority of the time he doesn't talk about it.
So, there is also this article about this, and I can't remember the author, that's a shame. So this not naming this thing, like just doing it, is really a queer strategy to do also a feminist statement in that way. So I just wanted to support that with also the example. Thank you.
I think it's kind of the reconciliation of no matter what I do, it's going to be a political statement. As far as what I've seen in my life, if I make a joke about, oh man, that speech was so great, the UTI is going to be worth it because I held my, I held my pee the entire time because I wanted to listen to it. That's still a politically charged joke, even though it's not. It's everyday life. Nowadays, it's not such a big deal. There are rules at construction sites that you have to have porta potties, that women get to get bathroom breaks and everything else. But the century is coming up, it's still a social expectation of, like women, like obviously I don't have an issue of being vocal or open or out there. That doesn't mean I don't think about is it rude to get up in the middle of something? Will people draw attention to me? Well, I'm not excluded from that. So I think it's a reconciliation of almost no matter what you do is going to be taken as a political statement. No matter what you do, it's going to be taken as a social commentary, even when I don't shave my legs all the time. It has nothing to do with feminism at all. I'm lazy and I'm really bad. Like, I cut myself, it's so I don't shave my legs all the time. And I don't talk about that in my stand-up at all. It's just something that happens. But I have had comments from coworkers, male bosses, fellow peers. Like, I have had comments like, "Why don't you do that? Oh, you're a feminist," or just and it's like, no, I just didn't. It's not a statement, my unshaven legs are not a statement. 1973, yeah, they would have been. But right now, it's just, I'm a lazy person. That's what statement, like, I'm too lazy to make a statement. And so I think it's that reconciliation of, am I going to hit this head on, or am I not? And both, neither of those actually have anything to do if you're a leader or a hack, or if you're cerebral comedy or not. You know, it's more of a what you want to do in a sense. That's why I think comedians are so adverse to take into the, you know, like, what, I'm not selling anything. Why should I care about my consumer? But you are selling something, and there is a consumption. And I think that's where, as far as labeling goes, putting in a box, you can't do anything else. If I do this character act, you know, there are times that I've done 12-minute sets for, I teach Sunday school. I've done it for the teachers at Catholic, like actual teachers at the Catholic schools. I don't have to do my rape stuff there, or I could. It's my choice. And it's, I will make a blowjob Jesus second coming joke, of course, because why wouldn't you? Well, and these are people that I see when I do Sunday school, so there is more of like a setup, like it's not me just walking in blind.
I thought you said at Sunday school.
Oh,
that's why I was like,
I did get in trouble for showing the high schoolers Monty Python, but I took out the schoolboy days. Anyway, it's something that you have to reconcile within yourself. Not, I'm sure, as a marginalized group, it's something you have to do every day when you're walking into a situation. What am I going to get asked today? What is going to be asked of me today? Do I have to pander to this person? Like women with what's that?
As a marginalized person.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. As a black guy, I don't really like you don't really think about it anymore. You know, just like, all right, stop it. That's goofy white people shit. Just
What's goofy? What?
Like, I don't know. Like this. I'm surprised that you're here. I don't know.
I guess we're
why are you here? What are you doing?
I guess we're
no, the black lady. You know, are you black? Please be black.
Okay.
But I guess with that, but like it's kind of like what I think it does matter where you're coming from too. At least, and this is me being on the outside of it. Samuel L. Jackson, I believe it was Samuel L. Jackson made a comment on the movie Get Out, and I forget the actor's name. He's not an American actor, and he said his black experience is not as authentic as an American black male's experience. Why would you cast him? You know, I mean, he did not say that like eloquently, but like I said it eloquently. But that's the truth. And see, that's what I mean is everyone's marginalized experience is going to be different. However, we can find some common ground, and so it's. When you talk about white people's goofy stuff, like, oh, we're doing this, when I talk about guys' goofy stuff, I'm talking about sexual harassment, like those shenanigans they pull.
Making it sound like all guys sexually harassed.
Most guys sexually harassed.
But also,
all women aren't sexually harassed.
We're sort of again veering off from sort of the topic. So I'd like to get your question. I'd also like to hear more about about clowning and physical, because I think that's interesting to me about like, well, can that be subversive? Because you sort of mentioned that early on, that clowning could be subversive. I'd like to come back to that, but
so my question is totally different and maybe will be in a different direction, but I actually wanted to hear the people in the audience, if you don't mind, who are also performers, give a comment on it. I heard a lot in this entire conference, everyone talk about stories and a narrative, and that's a really interesting area of research. And I heard Cait call herself a agitator, and I just wondered, and this would be one word answer actually, if people could just say, do you see yourself as the protagonist, the antagonist, the victim, the hero, the agitator, the innocent bystander, and does that shift? Do you think about that consciously, about your role? I just wondered, those of you who do characters, maybe not everyone does characters, and maybe not everyone, but you know, when you're telling your stories and stuff, do you think about how I'm just curious, because I know, just not that we're going to go into this, but I know that affects how people interpret and respond to your comedy as well.
I don't see labels as limiting. I can be labeled a bunch of things. You know what I mean? I don't have to be the agitator always. Correct, but I'm not just an agitator. I also call myself a rape victim. I'm a white woman. I came up on welfare. You know what I mean? So I don't.
Shifts. So
your role
It's not that it
shifts.
shifts, I'm all those at once. And just because I do a joke as an agitator, it doesn't mean I'm not still those things. I embody all those things at once because I'm highlighting or vocalizing on one specific thing. My character, my person, my comedy doesn't shift. I'm allowed to be all those things at once. I find labels freeing because it gives me vocabulary.
Can I
so let's
rephrase the question so that we can give a one-word
Yeah.
So when you said what would you possibly want to answer, what would you see yourself as, and Mitch, you say comedian.
Yeah.
Would anyone here who who has worked as a comedian, would anyone see themselves not primarily as a comedian when they're on stage? If I say, if I was asked, do you see yourself primarily as a comedian when you're on stage? Yes.
I would, but to go back to her question, I would probably say comedian is not a legitimate answer. Because the idea is that when you do comedy, you're putting yourself somewhere in a story, or even if you're making an observation, you're putting yourself somewhere in it, and that's not. But a comedian is what you're doing, but you're actually, right? It's like when I tell the story, I'm a whatever.
Well, so what I would have expected was everybody would say yes, and then so saying comedian is kind of a cop out, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I'm just really talking about perspective taking, and I think the break a leg comedy was a good example of this. The perspective taking was personal, but are you the story's victim or are you the story's hero? And
I'm a hero.
And so,
I'm glad you asked.
the reason why I ask that is because people don't relate well. Character identity is a huge thing, and how persuasive your comedy is, and how enjoyable it is. People enjoy media more when they can identify with a character, and they don't like to identify with victims. And so I wondered if if you make yourself the hero of your story, you're going to get a lot more character identity, and that's a lot more audience enjoyment, and that's a lot more laughter. And so I just think that's an interesting thing. Have you thought as comedians when you write your jokes about how you cast your own role? And that's just a totally different question that's unrelated to the topic of the day. If you want to answer my question later over cocktails, that's fine too.
I think essentially a comedy, we're not supposed to be, I don't think we're supposed to be cool. Like that's not our role isn't to be cool. That's why people don't like Dane Cook, because Dane Cook was being cool. He was a cool guy. I thought Dane Cook was fun. I like Dane Cook. It's not the point of playing the victim. It's the point of being flawed. You got to be flawed.
I would say it's fluid as well.
Fluid, yeah.
How do we make that happen? Dry, very dry.
Cool, I'm glad you hijacked that.
Please continue. So fucking
anyway, I think it's way more fluid because, I personally, in some of my jokes, I am the victim. In some of my jokes, I am the hero. But also, too, there are times where I have to consciously restructure what role I'm playing based upon the comedians before me. So, based upon audience reaction, if people go up, if several people, if I'm in an open mic, for example, and the 3 comedians who go up before me are all from the hero's perspective, and then I go up and I am the victim, it's jarring to the audience. And sometimes it works better because it's a new perspective, and sometimes it works. I did an open mic 2 weeks ago where I bombed so hard in a venue where I typically do well, but it was because it was that juxtaposition of what the people before me had done. I had 3 comedians who went up before me who were all heroes. I went up and I was like, I'm going to be the victim anyway. And I just got pitied for 7 minutes, which is infuriating.
I'm sorry, man.
No, exactly. Well, and that's why I'm saying it's fluid, though. That's why I'm saying, if you, it's up to you per base. I'm not comfortable saying I'm a hero because I'm a hero because I do stand-up. But that in the joke I'm doing that night, I could be a hero, I could be a victim, I could be the bully, I could be the antagonist. It all depends on what realm I'm in at that point in time.
And that's why I don't like labels, because it's more about humanizing than labeling.
Just because we're running out of time, I do want to get an answer.
I'll answer the question. My straight stand-up set stand-up comedy set that I used to do, I would call myself a fool. I think you're right, fluid since I've been doing stand-up philosophy at the philosophy show. I would say I'm a Parisian. I'm or a philosopher. I'm someone who's trying to say something. I'm trying to get at the truth.
It changes from joke to joke. Like, it has to. I mean, if the joke is funnier with me being the bad guy, like just a dummy, you know what I mean, that just doesn't get it, or if I'm like the smarter person in the two people in the joke or whatever, then I'll do whatever I gotta do to make that joke better.
And then LeMaire?
I don't know. It's not TED Talks. I'm just trying to be funny.
Neslihan?
Actually, a good question, because I never thought of this, I think, like in a sense that how would I label myself? But I don't target myself much in my comedy. I think you watched me yesterday, I don't know what you think, but so that's my answer.
Like an observer. It was a lot of there were observational.
Yeah, I also talk about my own experiences, and I also talk from the mouth of other people who tell me stuff, and yeah, but it's not like I'm a victim in the situation, I think. But I could be as well, like about another subject, maybe I could be the victim and I could talk about it, but yeah, I do jokes that I enjoy also to hear.
Comedians. That's the fundamental role we all do. The fluidity of it isn't hero or whatever. What the comedian does is fit into whatever role the joke needs to deliver the primary obligation, which is to make people laugh. So I think it's not a cop-out to say comedian. The role that we can distill every one of those answers down to is comedian.
And that's what, like when I said agitator, that's when I'm on Twitter talking to people who probably don't care what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And that's what he said, is the show is everybody else on Twitter who might watch it, or good fodder for my state. You know, it's a good transition because it's it's generally well accepted over. You know, like so when I say an agitator, I'm an agitator in that sense. It's what's that one song? I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother. You know what I mean? Like that kind of crap. Like that's.
A few more.
I just want to add something very short. It's like, I think it's better to think of the practice of stand-up comedy as a community practice. It's like you are not someone just comes to a place to entertain with your clever ideas, but it's like, it depends on the dialogue between you and the people. So even in like, one day if you go to different venues and perform in different open mics, it depends on the people when you are experienced enough. Not that I say that I am experienced enough, but when you're experienced enough, you can sense these people, and you might shift your own persona. Like I've been reading about these things in also different articles that, like depending on the people you play for, you change your roles even maybe at the same night.
Yeah. And then a question, and then I'm going to say the last.
It's probably more of a statement. Maybe I had something I thought
we got plenty of this.
I have an unusual perspective. I did comedy from 25 to 30, then got my PhD and wrote and had it published and got tenure, and then I went back to comedy. And so the first time that I did comedy, audiences, they stereotype us. They immediately look at us and they want to put you in some sort of kind of simple box. Well, this is going to be this kind of comedian. And what I realized was I was stereotyped differently when I was in my late 20s than when I went back to comedy when I was older. When I was younger, they saw a big silly guy who can't win. I played the loser a lot. And as I was older, I went and tried to do that. I tried to kind of go and tell the same jokes. And all of a sudden, didn't feel the same. And one night, I just looked at some young person and said, "I hate you people." and that happened. That's exactly what happened. And I went, "Whoa, what was that? That was magic." And now I realize I'm the old crank. And I'm with college students all the time, and now I'm the old, get off my lawn. And that's what they're seeing, so I can use that. That gives me power. They're stereotyping, but I'm using that now as a way to find a way to say things that I want to say.
Might also be because your references were 15 years old at that point.
Roasted.
I just have a bunch of points to make, which maybe people might want to respond to. I was just picking up on things. So, hack jokes can be used for good purpose. Absolutely. Dick Gregory employed writers, white writers, hacky writers, so that he could like build a bridge so that he could then talk to mixed race audiences, particularly white people, about the black experience. It was a really important comic, and I think that was a really important intervention. Secondly, the small hands thing, right? First thing I heard of that was John, this is the point about something could be a hack subject, but it doesn't have to be a hack take. So John Oliver was the first time I heard of the small hands thing. I didn't know about the small hands thing with Trump. And for me, that was a funny joke, because it wasn't about dick size or anything like that. It was about the pathetically infantile, thin skin of Donald Trump, a powerful man who's privileged and always has been, right? So it's about that sort of disjuncture, which is actually quite a sophisticated point. Third thing, hack versus non-hack. There's an interesting piece of research by Sam Friedman in the UK, who uses Bourdieu to talk about comedy traditionally been seen as low cultural capital, but he argues that actually it could be high or low cultural capital when comic tastes are shaped sociologically. So there's something you might want to look into. Finally, the thing about Carlin and physicality, but I know what you mean, right? But just because somebody's very physically articulate, does that mean to say it's worse than somebody that's verbally articulate? And I would give as an example Pryor playing a deer in the forest. For me, one of the finest bits of stand-up, it's not a word, he just stands there and licks, you know, it's just genius. And I don't think it's hack at all, I think it's beautiful art for me, and really funny as well. so I'm just, you know, I was interested about the assumption that it's all about words and ideas. Sometimes it's not, it's about something else, isn't it?
Yes. I think the point about Carl is that people laud him for his words, yet he's saying if you actually study it, it's just a physicality, whereas that prior bit is based on physicality.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have to wrap up, but I do want to ask this question. Hopefully this will bring it full circle. So usually, I mean, we sort of began this of saying why the answer of why you do comedy is always, well, to make people laugh. But it seems like, and I like the last question that you asked, is there's another why beneath that, which is like, maybe it's like, well, I'm doing this so I can tour. I'm doing this so I can meet interesting people. I'm doing this because I want to be heard. I'm doing this because I want to make money, right? Like, so everyone will obviously say I'm doing this. They tell comedy, I tell jokes to make people laugh, but I'm curious about what's the why that you think that's underneath. Like, in other words, that's the why of doing the job, right? Or how you get to keep doing it. But then there's also this other why, which is not making people laugh. So I'm curious about your thoughts. What it is for you personally.
It's why I wanted to start, and it's why I keep doing it. Is I like stage time.
The being seen, being the same.
Being seen, being engaging, having the dialogue. I like a dialogue, but I also like being the chair, and being in control. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I come from a performance background. Like I've stayed also in theater, and then I started to do clowning for the master's thesis. Then, like I said, okay, this is good. Like researching for feminism and comedy. So I decided to go further with other forms as well. I was very, I didn't like stand-up comedy actually before. And then when I started to research more and more about it, I liked it, and then I started to dislike it again after seeing so much graphic material. Sorry, I should.
This is a conference, you did learn something.
Hacking material. I don't use this word normally. Yeah, I learned something. So, yeah, exactly. Did I answer your question? I don't know. I like to make people laugh, but other than this, I like to play. Playing, the joy of play is something that I like, and I wouldn't want to earn money from it, because I think that would limit me in a way.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, you can earn money, but I need to build up this as your career. Yeah, I think it's a very hard thing, and I really respect people who do it, and I think it requires a very strong psychology to be able to follow this path. So I don't think I would be able to, but yeah, I like to do it.
It's a form of healing. That's what my presentation was on. comedy as a form of therapy. It's not the only therapy, but it's a form for me as someone who was removed from the general public in a sense of stigmatism, to not only engage on other people's and the world's level, but to bring you into mine and put that dual reality of that everyone's experiencing the same thing, but we're in different realities. And in all honesty, that's what it is. Everyone experiences is different. And it's that experience of that visceral, gut or intellectual appreciation